What is up, guys? Welcome back to another episode of Simply Purpose Podcast. I am your host, Janaysha Ndupu, and I'm so blessed and excited that you guys are hanging out with me today. I know you guys haven't seen me for a minute. It's been like 2 weeks. And yeah, it's been crazy just trying to go through new transitions that God has me go through. And I just didn't really have time to record for the past 2 weeks. But this week, as you obviously see by the title, this week will be just a Q&A podcast because I asked people around and on Instagram and social media just to send me some questions that they had in regards to this whole faith walk thing, whether it be relationships, family, your walk with Christ, and just in general. So that's what we're going to do today. So today might actually be a pretty quick episode. So let's start off. Let me grab the questions. I have them in my notes because they were a lot of them. So there's going to be a part 1 and a part 2. So we're going to just focus on part 1 today. So that's the fun part. So let's start off with some questions. Okay, so the first question that I have right here is, what made you start pursuing a relationship with Jesus more seriously? And I think the main thing that made me start pursuing a relationship with Jesus more seriously, it was I think around like high school, my senior year of high school, freshman year of college. If you've seen my testimony video, like, you know that the thing that really pushed me to start having my relationship with Jesus was I was really depressed and I was really sad, and I felt like I had no purpose or that nobody really wanted me here. And I was just like, God, I just need something to make me feel better. I want to feel better, and I'm going to give you a try. Like, I was so determined. I was like, I'm not going to do anything. I'm going to focus on you. And so I feel like so I feel like the thing that really pushed me was that I was pretty depressed and sad, especially in life. And just actively building a relationship with Christ really lifted my spirits and like delivered me from some things and just started to make me feel better as a whole. And what else also made me start pursuing it more seriously? So I started my walk freshman year, and that was because I was super depressed and I was tired of being depressed. But then in college, I went through a breakup and I was really sad. And I feel like that was kind of like people say like the straw that broke the camel's back. I feel like that was like kind of the thing that was like, okay, God, I really need to devote and build my own personal relationship with you. And I think that was definitely it, because it's like you get to a point where you feel so low. And it was like, okay, you know what? God, I'm gonna build this. I'm gonna take you more seriously for me, not just for like a relationship or anything, but for me to really get to know you and to know what you think of me. And yeah, so God is close to the brokenhearted. That's so true, because both times that I really started like being serious with my walk, it was like I was in a pretty bad place, and God was right there with open arms to collect me. Okay, so the next question I have is, what music do I listen to if you're trying to get rid of secular music, especially if you love hip hop, rap, R&B type of music? So I have a few artists that I recommend that are just some of my playlists is filled out of. And for like rap, you can listen to like Wande. I like Afro beats, so I like to listen to like Limbo Blaze, and there's KB, there's Lecrae, Triple E. For like R&B, like that's more of my side. Like I like R&B and jazz and very just like chill music, and also like pop. But like I really like, for the R&B question, I really like Madison Ryan Ward. I like who else do I have listed? I like Anatonia. I like Taryn, V Rose, Walls group. This is one girl that I found. Her name is like Aaliyah Lara. I love Tori Kelly's whole Christian album she did with like Kirk Franklin and everybody, obsessed with the album. So I've listened to it beginning to end. So if you want a really good album that's kind of like upbeat, I would definitely recommend that album, her Christian album. Corinne Hawthorne, she's great. I feel like the more on the rap side is more of kind of like my sister's forte. We have different music tastes. Like I do listen to like some rap, but like not too much personally. So I will get her playlist and get it from her Spotify, and I'll try to link it somewhere. And probably in like the bio for like my Spotify, I'll link it up there if you guys want like more like rap music or just like some good Christian music in general. You know, I love like the old school music, but then I love some new school music. So if you guys want music recommendations, I got you. Let's see. Let's get to the next question. Let's see. Who was it? When I first started my walk, I was obsessed with Jonathan McReynolds. Yeah, I was obsessed with music. Heavy. When I was like really young, like we weren't consistent with going to church, but like my mom would always play like the BB and CC album. Like I love songs like Grace, like that whole album they did, that sibling album. Gorgeous, love that. And yeah, there's just so many there's so many musics, and I feel like musicals, there's like this girl started a Christian musical, and she has like some really great music. Like the music for it is great. So if you're into musicals like that, I like musicals, and I love a good song and dance moment. But I'll link that. I'll also link my playlist and stuff like that. So if you want to have like just like a variety of things, just because like I danced growing up and I did like color guard, so I have like different types of music tastes. So the next one is, how does faith influence your relationships with others and your approach to love and compassion and who I hang around with? So I feel like since starting my relationship with Christ, I feel like how I approach others has been an evolving thing, just because God calls us to love as he loves, and that includes loving your enemies. So it's like it's a learning, you learn every day. Like I'm human, we have flesh, and it's kind of like, okay, I would just say to just put up boundaries with people. Like, don't give everybody so much access to you and access to, like, your heart. Because in the Bible it says, like, guard your heart. So, like, don't give people so much access to you. Like, even Jesus only brought, like, 3 people up to him when he went to, like, the mount to see, like, on Transfiguration, when he went to go see, like, Elijah and Moses. Like, place people in respective boundaries and just don't share so much of your heart with people. How else? How does it impact my community who I hang around with? So I obviously had friends who were not Christians, and I feel like with time, the Bible says bad company corrupts good character. So I felt like I was in moments where I would just like be just wanting to like compromise and just do things because I know everyone else wanted to do them, and it got to a point where it was just like, I love God way more than this, like, and just to like lose those friendships, because like if you pray that prayer for God to remove anybody in your life who's not supposed to be there, like he will definitely do it. And friendship breakups are hard, especially if you've been friends for like years, like since you were children. I think those are probably one of like the hardest things to go through. But I would just say, don't, like, yes, Jesus hung around sinners, but he didn't sin. So if you have, like, friends who aren't Christians, like, continue being a light to them, because you never know, like, your presence could help them change into change and convict them into being who God called them to be, and not do things where that compromises them or compromises their spirit. And yeah, I would say be kind to everybody. You can have like different friends for different things. Like your friends that you may travel with may not be your closest friends. I would just say keep boundaries and definitely know where to place people in your life. And also, like, if you have like if you're a Christian and you have friends who like to do like crazy things you don't like to do, like be open and communicate those things. Don't just start like pushing them off or acting weird. Just communicate those things better, because if you start acting kind of shady, people will start to think weird about you. Just be open and like communicate. Be like, okay, like I'm walking in my relationship with Christ, and I don't really want to do these things because I know God doesn't want us to do these things. And if like they're truly your friends, like they'll respect your boundaries. They're not gonna force you to like go hit the club. They're not gonna force you to get drunk and stuff like that. But there's a point in your relationship with God that He will start to strip people from your life and strip them, so you'll be surrounded with more people who will uplift you and see the best in you instead of just like bring you down. Yeah. What was the other question? Let's see. My approach to love and compassion now, really, I feel like my main focus right now on my walk with God is really to understand like His love, His character to like a deeper level, because like God says, if you love me, you follow my commands. But what does loving God look like? What does His love look like in our lives? And I think that's where I'm at a place, is like I'm really trying to like understand, like, okay, God said you love me. What does that look like? What does that mean truly? Because I feel like love, especially this day and age, is used so loosely that it's beginning to like lose meaning when God is love, and that love is so deep. Like God, He says, love your enemies, love your neighbor, like love. And you just really get to a point, it's just like, okay, what does love mean? And like I would love to do a whole episode on just what God's been like revealing to me about like His character and just like love and everything. But I would just say I'm really focusing on loving people the way that God calls us to love, because it's so easy to love someone who already loves you, but it takes another level to love somebody and not treat them any differently to those who truly like hate you and are mean to you. Because like even Jesus, He was like, Father, forgive them. The people who crucified Him, He was like, He loved them that much. He was like, Father, forgive them. They don't know what they're doing. That's how much He loves us. And I'm just really focusing on like not just being so in my mind and being like me, but to love others the way that they deserve, the way that they need to be loved, and love others and see others the way that God sees them. Because that's so important, because like we're all like made by Him. So let's see. The next question I have is, how do you handle doubts or moments of uncertainty in your faith? So I feel like the main thing I do is I'm honest. I'm really honest with God, because like if you're not honest, like God knows when you're putting on a front. He knows when there's something wrong. So I feel like I have to be like really honest and be like, God, I'm feeling discouraged. I'm feeling like I'm truly like doubting and I need help. And I just basically tell Him like everything that I'm thinking about. Like if you just keep everything closed in, like how can you ever get like peace or like set free from those things? So I feel like the main thing how I deal with it is like I take it straight to God and be like, God, I feel like this. And I'm super honest, just because we're in that part of a relationship where we're just like super honest. Kind of like when you build a relationship with somebody and you're kind of like closed off at the beginning because you don't know how they're going to take you, and it slowly starts to open. Like I'm past that. Like I'm straight up and I'm honest. I'm like, God, this is how I'm feeling. I don't know what to do. Like it's hurting me. Like I'm doubting. And God is not afraid of our emotions. He understands that. So He just wants us to be honest, because if we're not honest, God can't fix what you don't allow Him to have. If you be like, God, I'm doubting, give that doubt to God, and He'll give you peace. And he'll affirm you, and He'll speak to you, and He'll just help you to not feel doubtful or uncertain, because like His word like be speaking all the time. But yeah, I would just say I deal with it with being honest, but honest with God, and allowing and giving him time to answer, and really just like spend time in his word, spend time in the silence, and just be like, God, like, speak to me, like, I'm telling you, I told you how I feel, this is how I've been feeling fully, and God, I just need you to speak, and he will speak that way. The next question I have, let me see. The next question is, how do you strengthen your relationship with Jesus? And I feel like there's many different ways you can strengthen your relationship with Jesus. I feel like the main thing, the obvious thing, is to spend time in his word. Like, his word is like, the Bible is literally like his words, like his thoughts, his his thoughts, his ideas, like who he is. The Bible is literally, it's his words. So if you want him to speak to you, or you want to hear from him, or if you need just guidance anywhere, like, I was reading the Bible, like, the Bible literally probably has like an answer for like everything. Literally. So I would say the first place I would start is reading the Bible, and just like building like a set like routine and a time in which you spend time with God, because when you create that discipline, it'll be easier to keep that a part of your daily routine and keep that as a habit, and become second nature when you have that, when you build that routine. And it's hard at first, because you're like, oh, I'd rather do something else, but then you know that you need to be filling your spirit and not just letting your flesh take control all the time. So I would say my main things would be build a solid quiet time routine, whether it be in the morning, the night, your lunch break, afternoon, whenever. Build a solid quiet time routine. I would say next, go for prayer walks, or just make time out of your day to like pray. I personally like prayer walks where you're just like walking outside. For me, it's like when I'm walking, it'll be like 2-3 miles. Like, on the way there, I'll listen to music that'll just like uplift me and get me up the hills and everything. But like on the way back, like, I don't listen to music or anything, and I just walk and I talk to God, and he be talking back, and it's so cool. So I would say my first two would be quiet time routine. Make sure you pray, have time to pray. The second thing is community. 100%. Like, if no one's told you before, if you haven't heard it till today, get yourself involved in a community that will help uplift you, that will pray for you, that has your back. Like, get involved in a community in which they're gonna like push you towards your God-given purpose and your calling, and help you to be equipped to who God's called you to be. And like, they're your accountability partners, because if you guys are talking on the regular, be like, how you doing, and you know you're doing wrong, and you guys get on a call, they're gonna be like, something's a little shaky. But community, for sure. How else can you build a relationship with God? I feel like those are like the main ways I would build my relationship with God, is spending time with him, but whether that be reading his word, journaling, praying. Second one is like have like a prayer, time to have prayer. Another thing you can do is I like to watch like Christian movies, or listen to like different podcasts or videos in which that could help also like uplift your spirit, because faith comes from hearing, and hearing the word of God. So if you're just like constantly filling your spirit, whether it be through a movie or through music, I feel like those are good ways to feel connected and closer to God. But I feel like the main way you can do it is just spending time with him. Like, it doesn't have to be 2 hours long to spend time with him. Like, he will honor the time that you give, as long as you are actually like giving him some time, because you can't get to know someone if you don't spend time with them. So those are my little spielos for you. The next question I have is, how do you stay consistent with your walk with the Lord? I feel like my consistency comes from the discipline in which I have quiet time each day, and it's usually around the same day, so it's just kind of like a part of that routine. But there's days in which I fall to, like, I'm human. There's days I don't want to read the Bible, or there's days I just don't feel like praying or anything like that. We are human, but I feel like it's important to just have those disciplines in time and be like, okay, I'm not going on my phone till I literally spend time with God. Because those are where like your priorities comes in, and that's how you get in check. Like, I'll be like, okay, which do I love more? If I say that I love God and I don't want to read his word, it's kind of like it gets a little shaky. I would just say like those disciplines for sure. I feel like it's really those disciplines on how I stay consistent, just because it's been a part of my routine for so long. Yeah, just like once you get it could be in the morning, it could be at night, it could be in the afternoon, it could be at your job when you first get there if you're there early, just like, or you can just pray when you're in your car, wherever you have time to like really just like dedicate to the Lord will honor it, and he sees that you're trying to get closer to him. The next question is, how can you be sure when God is speaking to you? Okay, I think there was one above it that looks similar. Okay, what was it again? It was, how can you be sure when God is speaking to you? So I feel like one way you can be sure that God is speaking to you is obviously the Bible, because the Bible is his words written down. Another way you can be sure that God is speaking to you is if it lines up to what he already wrote in like the Bible, like if it lines up like if obviously like God calls us to love, and then you get like thoughts that are like that person did you wrong, you should get revenge. No, that's not from God. Because, like, God will never contradict his word, because his word is true and it's lasting forevermore. It's never changed. He's been the same for literally eternity. So I feel like you can be sure that God is speaking to you. God speaks in many ways. For sure. Let's clarify that. Like, God can speak to you in many ways. Like, the way that God speaks to me may be different than how he speaks to my sister. And how God speaks to my sister can be different than how he speaks to my mom or my dad or anybody. Like, he speaks to us in individual ways. So it could be through dreams, it could be through music, it could be through you're scrolling on TikTok and you're just like, dang, I just prayed for that and it gave me an answer. It could be through people around you. Like, they don't know what you're going on, but God, like, gives them, like, this word, and they don't know either, and then he speaks to you through other people. He could speak to you through, movies, or, like, TV shows. Like, God can speak through anything. So, I feel like one good source to know if God is speaking to you is if it matches what his word says already, and it matches his character. I feel like that's a solid way to know that it is from God, because he's not going to contradict his character. Yeah. That's what I have for that question. The next question is, what does it look like to live holy? I love that question. Yes, I love that question. Because I feel like a lot of the times, this day and age, especially people who, like, claim to be Christian, but then they don't want to live a holy life, like, or they're just, like, straddling the fence and being lukewarm. Like, I feel like, what does it look like to live holy? Like, you're not, like, doing, like, let's use this example. Like, you shouldn't be, like, going to the club on Saturday and then going to church on Sunday. It's just, like, it's contradicting yourself. It's kind of like you want to live holy, you want to live right, but then you're, like, getting drunk is a sin, and you're having sexy time, and that's a sin, especially if you're not married. It's just kind of like you're contradicting. It's like you can't say that you love God, but then you're not following the commands. And I feel what it looks like to live holy. Like, if you want to live holy, like, please take it seriously. Like, I get, especially if you're, like, first coming to Christ and you don't and you don't really know anything, but like especially for people who like who know of God and know what he says, and you still choose to do what you want to do, that is a dangerous place to be in, because it's like you know better and you choose not to do better. So I feel like what it looks like to live holy is definitely abiding and following in God's commands and his rules and what he says. And like I feel like that looks like you're not having sex outside of marriage, you're not getting drunk, you're not doing all these crazy types of drugs, you're not, it's just like being holy. Like I feel like it's so important. People don't want to. We've just gotten in this mindset of complacency and just being like, oh yeah, I love God, but I can still do what I want. But that's literally not what God has called us to do. He's called us to die to ourselves, and that means it doesn't matter what we want, but what does God want? Like what is his will for our life, and what does he call us to do, and what does he say is right, and what does he say is holy? And if we love him, we'll follow those things, because it's like, oh, like yeah, like I love to use this analogy for my Bible studies. Is like, say you're dating this person, right? And this person brings it to your attention that he doesn't like when you do this certain thing, like whether you wear crazy revealing clothes or something. He doesn't like that. And you're like, okay, I understand that. Yes. And you guys have exchanged I love yous, and you guys both, it's come to knowledge that you guys both love each other. And then the next time he sees you, you're wearing the thing that he says that he doesn't like, or you're doing the thing that he says that he doesn't like, and you're doing it again. And he was like, and he's going to be like, I thought you loved me. She was like, I do. And then he was like, you don't, because you know that this thing hurts me, and yet you're doing it constantly. You're asking for forgiveness, and then you're going back and doing the same thing again, in which I expressed to you hurts me. So I feel like Jesus was pretty straightforward with it. It was like, if you love me, you'll follow my commands. And being holy, like y'all, we should not, if you are not married, you should not be living together. You should not be living together if you're not married, especially because of those like temptations. Because like I feel like everybody knows that like sex before marriage is a sin, and this is a deep topic, but I just feel like it needs to be talked about. Like we can't keep like saying we love God, but yet contradicting his word and contradicting the Bible and doing what we want to do when it hurts God. Like he loves all of us, but like when we do what we want to do and live in sin, like that hurts him. So I would just say living holy is try to build like great community and friendships that can hold you accountable, as having great accountability. You like have accountability for yourself, have people to hold you accountable, stay in his word and really understand what he means when he's talking about you, and understand his character and understand his likes and his dislikes and just how he operates. I feel like that can really help you to pursue living a holy life. But yeah, that's what I got so far for that one. Let's see. The next question is prayer the only way to find out God's purpose for you? So, I love that question too. I feel like when you're trying to get information from somebody, I feel like the first thing you do is ask a question. And I think who better to get the information from than the person who gave you the assignment in the first place? So I would say prayer is like the main way to figure out God's purpose for your life. God can also like send people to like affirm and confirm like the purpose and the calling and his will over your life. Like he could send people to affirm it. Like you'd get like thoughts like, oh yeah, you should probably start a business, and you're like, what? And that's like a thought you would have never thought of, but then he'll like send people to confirm it, like, yeah, you should really start a business, you're really great at that. And God is very strategic in how he does that. So I feel like the main way to do it is definitely praying. Like ask God, like, okay God, I don't know what you want me to do, And I feel like once you start asking him and you're genuinely asking him, he'll start to put like inklings on your heart or in your mind, and it'll kind of like coincide with like the gifts and talents you already have, and then maybe he'll send people to confirm that thing. And but for to figure it out in the first place, I feel like you can fast. Fasting is good. Fasting is dying to yourself and stripping like fleshly desires and just focusing solely on God. But like even when you fast, you pray. So I feel like praying is like probably the main way you can figure out your purpose, but I feel like God will affirm it in different ways, whether it be through social media or through people in your life. But I would say if you want to know your purpose and your calling, I would say definitely pray. I have this cool thing written down. It was like prayer is communication with God, and the only way to truly figure out your purpose is to spend time and ask the person who gave you the assignment in the first place. And then I went to go talk about he can also affirm what he already called you to do and speak life into that. But it all comes back to communicating with God, because we all have gifts, but we all have gifts, but God is the only one who knows the will for your life. So, because there's people who's like operating in the gifts they have. Like gifts come without repentance, but they're operating in the gifts they have, but they're not operating in the will that God has for their life. So you can be operating gift but not operating in purpose, and I think that's where people get it confused. So I feel like if you really want to know your purpose, I would ask God and take some time really, and then really navigate the things that you're good at, things that come naturally to you, because it'll kind of coincide with that. The next question is, how do you know a dream is from God? So I feel like a tip I would give anybody who has dreams is I would, as soon as you wake up from the dream, like write it down. Like sometimes I forget to write it down, but as soon as you have a dream, like wake up and write it down, and then ask God to like reveal that dream to you. And I feel like one way to know for sure like the dream is from God is that it matches with his character, because God is not going to give you, say you have like a lustful dream, God's not going to give you that dream because it doesn't line up with his character, because lust is a sin and God doesn't sin. So like dreams like that, like one way to know for sure, like if you like lustful dreams, like they will never come from God. That's just a never, because he hates lust. Lust is lust is a cheap what is it? Lust is a cheap counterfeit for love, and God is love. So I feel like when we fall into lust, it's due to lack of intimacy with God. And I can attest to that. It's like when you fall into lust and having those like lustful dreams or lustful thoughts, it's due to lack of like true intimacy with God, because when you really like study his love, it's kind of like, dang, like God loves me like this? Like what? Like how? It doesn't even make sense how much he can love me like that. So I would say how you can know a dream is from God, you can ask. One way is you can ask him. The second way is, does it match his character? The third way, does it match his word and what he says in his word? And yeah, I feel like that's the main way of like knowing his character. Like if you obviously know that God doesn't like murder or like lust or fornication and sex before marriage, and you have dreams like that, like he's not going to give you that, and that's a sure way to know that junk is from the enemy. But if it doesn't have like any of that in it and you're still confused, I would say write it down and then pray and ask God for clarification on what he meant in the dream, and just give it some time and he'll answer you in one way or another. Yeah. Let's see. I feel like these last two, they can go together. It's how to forgive your sibling and stop being so angry and learn how to love them, and then also how to forgive someone and letting go of anger and not giving into revenge. And let's just say, like, I completely understand with all my siblings. I have a whole fleet of them. But I feel like how to forgive a sibling. I feel like my first thing on forgiveness in general is I would pray and fast. Because if it's been something that this person's been hurting you for a really long time, and just the sight of them makes you sick, or the sight of them makes you so angry, I feel like you should definitely fast and pray about it. And because some things only break through prayer and fasting. Because I know I had to go through a period where I had to forgive someone, and it was just really hard. And the only thing that truly like set me free was praying and fasting. And I was just like constantly praying to forgive this person and understanding why do they do this to me? Like, why do they treat me like this? And I feel like another, like, as you're praying and fasting, or if you're just praying, I would say to ask God to see them in a light in which He sees them. Because even though people may treat us awfully, like, God sees behind closed doors and they see what's in their heart. And maybe it's not that they mean to hurt you, as maybe they're hurting themselves, because hurt people. And yeah, I feel like one thing really helped me to forgive someone is being like, okay, now I see how God sees this person, and that I recognize that hurt people. Like, nobody's just mean for no reason. And I would just say to keep praying for that person. And I feel like that in those situations, I feel like that's where loving, when it says to love your neighbor, I feel like that is like one of the main ways is like when people hurt you and you still pray for them and you still love them, like, kill them with kindness, you know? But I would say definitely get to a place where you can understand how God sees them, and then understand that hurt people. So it's like maybe they're not hurting you on purpose, but due to like the trauma responses that they have, they just ended up hurting you. But I would definitely say, yeah, and also don't seek revenge for yourself, because God gives the best revenge. Like, let Him handle it, and He'll handle it in a way better than we could ever handle it. But I would just say really pray for them. As you're praying for yourself, like, make sure you pray for them to get healing and whatever they're dealing with, because like I said, it was like nobody's just evil for no reason. And we have to remember that we fight against not flesh and blood, but like the spirit and principalities. So we need to like pray against whatever they're dealing with, and just continue to try and show them love. Like, one thing I like to say is, like, even though you forgive someone, like, you don't have to be like super close or keep them in your life if they do something crazy to you. But I think that's where, when people hurt you, I feel like that's the best place to show God's love to them. And I feel like with time, like, they'll start to change. And as you're praying, like, God hears your prayers. Like, your prayer does not fall on deaf ears. Like, as you're praying for them and just being like, God, like, please change them, like, help them, because I don't understand, like, why they're so mean to me, or why they hurt me, or this way. I would really pray for yourself too. I would 100% say pray for yourself. Like, pray for yourself to give them the grace and for forgiveness for them, because forgiveness isn't for them, it's for you. And you don't want to have all this like anger and animosity built up towards them, when God hears your prayers, so He's working on them. But then you don't want to kind of be in a place where you're just like, you're hurting because of all those things. So I would say definitely pray for each other. Try to talk, if you can, try to talk it out and get to a place, or if you can't talk to them without yelling, try and get a mediator involved and try to understand like why they act like that. Or if that's not even like on the case, because I've had situations where it's just like, yeah, we can't talk to them because they'll flip. But I would just say, like, keep praying for them, be kind to them, even though I know it sucks. Because I'd be reading the Bible and I'd be like, God, wow, you are a real one, because He's just so kind and he loves everybody, even the people who hate him. And it's so hard to believe that, like, in our flesh, because it's like, if people, like, did me wrong, like, oh, you're out of here, bro. Like, it's not, like, we're not even rocking no more. And God's like, but love them. Like, we need to realize that we can't love people the way that we love people as flesh and humans, but we need to love people the way that God loves people. And that is a journey in itself. But I feel like one thing I did learn is, like, once you realize that God has your back and that there's always someone looking out for you, it's easier to love others. So I would definitely say, I think the things that really helped me in, like, the whole forgiveness thing is, I'm a journaler. I love writing. Just get to a place where you can write down all your feelings and just, you can journal to God. I feel like that was one of the main ways that I really started my relationship with God. Like, I didn't want to talk out loud because I was sharing a room at the time. And then, so I would just, like, write down everything, write how I'm feeling. You could put it in a lockbox, you could hide it, you can journal it, just make sure you don't hold anything in, because that's how the enemy gets a foothold and he starts to attack you in other ways. So just try to make sure to, like, get it out. And, like, I really enjoy writing, so writing could help you. Or if you like to do other things like kickboxing, I don't know. Anything that or going for a swim or whatever, like, to just help you get everything out, or going for walks and talking to God that way, just a way you're able to, like, really get everything out and you're giving it to God at the same time, and you don't feel like the burden is on you, because once you release it, like, God hears you and now he's given you a yoke that's light. So, but yeah, so those are pretty much all the questions that I have for part 1. I hope you guys like this Q&A part 1. It's kind of new. I decided to do. I thought it was cool, especially with the questions that I got. And I hope it really helped you and it really blessed you and hopefully helped some of the situations that you're in, or you got some clarity. Like, if you need any more clarity, like, please feel free to message or DM me. But yeah, I hope you guys have an amazing rest of your day. Good morning, good evening, good afternoon, and I don't know, wherever you are, I hope you have a beautiful rest of your day, and make sure to share, comment, and leave a review at the end of the podcast. It really means a lot, and I just really wanted to see how much it's impacted you and helped you in that way. So, until next time, I love you guys.